You're listening to the Outer Banks This Week podcast, a place for people to hear what's going on up and down the beach and get the truth about what really goes on around the Outer Banks. So, here we go.
All right, thank you so much, Lexi. You are definitely a sweetheart. She's a fantastic person. Love me some Lexi. Outer Banks This Week podcast, episode number 51, all brought to you by Kelly's Automotive in Manteo. They've been open since 2010. Kelly Midget, he's been the king of the used car market here on the Outer Banks for 14 years now. And now guess what? He's selling sheds. Yes, if it has doors, it can be yours over at Kelly's Automotive in Manteo. You can call Kelly or Dakota at 252-473-3807, or you can check out their inventory online at kellysobxauto.com. I plan to have Kelly in on the show at some point because I know he does a lot for the Garage Boys racing team, and they have those big car shows at his car lot and everything. So I'm hoping I can get him in sometime in the near future to talk about that, because I think that comes up in May. But anyway, we're into episode 51, and I know last week I had said that I had a special guest coming in, and this individual's actually jumped on board with us here at Outer Banks this week, and I'm really excited about it. It was a conversation we had, and it blossomed into something beautiful. So without further ado, how's it going, Capt Marty?
It blossomed into something beautiful?
Yes, this is Marty. It has turned into absolutely one of the most beautiful things.
I think we're more of a bud than a blossom right now.
We're budding.
We're budding into a blossom, which hopefully will be something beautiful.
Yeah, okay. This coming from the man with the green thumb.
Major league green thumb.
That's what I mean.
You know what's bad about that?
What's bad about that?
We had a warm spell just recently.
Yes, sir.
All my nectarine trees are budding. They're blooming. They have flowers on them. And you know what that means is if we get another freeze, no fruit. They're done. And a lot of people dealing with that.
Well, see, now, and we're going to talk to Captain Marty here more in just a little bit about who he is, what he's all about, and where he came from, and where we hope to go with him. But while we're on this topic, now, when I lived in Florida for like a short period of time, when I say short period, I mean it was like 5 years, 4.5 years. I went to a friend's house down there. It was actually his parents' house, and they had, now, obviously there's a difference in a nectarine and an orange. Correct? Is that accurate? No?
There's a whole lot of difference.
See, that's what I don't know.
They're not even related. A nectarine has one seed. It's almost a peach. It's a peach without fuzz.
Oh.
All right. An orange is citrus.
I thought they were the same thing.
Right. I can see we need to do some research with you. But anyway, the orange is multi-seeded, and it's a piece of citrus. Is that what you were trying to compare a nectarine to an orange?
That's why I thought, because isn't like a nectarine, like it's orange in color, but smaller.
Yeah, that's fairly accurate.
And you have to peel it, right?
It's the same color as a peach. It has yellow and red.
Okay.
So it could be
I haven't messed up.
And no, it's someone designed a peach with no fuzz. And by the way, maybe this is not the right time, but I think my one thing you never do to Captain Marty. Do you know what it is?
I feel like I should know this. I feel like I should know this.
You never, and anybody listening, don't think this is a joke and we'll get Marty. Never come near me with a peach. Never come near me. And I had a mate on my charter boat learned that the hard way. The peach fuzz drives me crazy.
Oh, dear
Even
Lord.
Talking about it is making my skin crawl.
Okay, well,
right now.
let's move on then.
So yeah, the peach. That's why someone designed a nectarine, because some people just can't deal with the fuzz, and I'm one of them. I'm serious. It's a big deal.
Is that comparable to taking a banana on a boat?
Oh, it's worse.
Worse.
I'd throw the banana overboard. If you come up, my mate one time thought he'd and sneak up on me in the bridge with a peach. I can't help it. You know how some people, you can't scratch your fingernails?
Nails on the chalkboard.
Yeah. Well, for me, it's don't come near me with a peach. And one day I'll tell you what happened in my front yard with a bear.
Oh,
and a peach,
Lord.
Okay.
That's a story for another day. And again, we're going to learn a little bit more about Marty here in just a few moments. I feel like it's worth mentioning, though, we just had the Swifty Bowl. That's what I'm calling it, the Super Bowl. You had an interesting name.
I called them the Kansas Swifty Chiefs, which I thought was better than what they came up with. But,
yeah.
And, I don't have any problem with her.
No, me neither.
I didn't like him going up on the coach in that game.
That was a bit much.
Yeah, but,
not a good example to set for the kids, in my opinion. They did a lip reading thing. Some lip reader actually slowed it down and watched it a good handful of times and was able to break down what he said, and he was not very nice with his words. And I had an idea of what he said just from watching the replays a couple of times, and I'm like, I think he said this, and I'm not going to repeat. But yeah, definitely not a good example set for the kids. A lot of people mad about that. A lot of people are like, all right, I don't like him anymore.
Yeah, I was sort of like I was on the fence with him a little. Nothing to do with Taylor Swift, but he seems to be a little bit of a prima donna.
Well, I mean, he's got a little bit of bragging rights with Taylor Swift.
He does,
So
and with his team in his Super Bowls, we haven't been on the sideline in a Super Bowl.
No, yeah, that's true.
Gosh only knows what the emotions are. So
that's true. And, I don't want to pass judgment too quickly, but however, it's like, oh man, this is just not a good look. So anyway, hopefully, kids don't use that as an example of how to speak to your coach. But it was good. I mean, I fell asleep halfway through the third quarter, Marty. I'm not even going to lie. Like, I just could not stay awake. I get up early and go to the gym as you go to the gym. Not quite as early as I do, but you still go nonetheless. And
I drive a long way to go to the gym.
True story. Every bit of it. It's every bit of what, an hour? You live in Englehart.
Hour and 5 minutes.
Hour and 5 minutes.
Each way.
So I didn't stay up and watch the rest of it. I was thinking, the way things were looking when I fell asleep, it looked like San Francisco might actually take it because it seemed like Patrick Mahomes was throwing interceptions and fumbles and all this. I was like, oh, it's not looking good for the Chiefs. All right. And I fell asleep. I woke up and I see on the news this morning, what's his face there? Old Travis Kelce there holding the Lombardi trophy, just holding it up. Mm-hmm. So congratulations to them, I guess we can say.
Yeah, and it's odd. Right before that last score, it was, 22-19, I think is what it was. All week long, all the odds makers, and I don't like the way the NFL has jumped in with all the gambling and stuff like that. On 60 Minutes last week, the show 60 Minutes, they said the calls to the problem gambling hotline had tripled since the NFL opened everything up to gambling. But the odds makers did say, we predict 22-19, a 3-point favorite would be the 49ers. And until that last play of the game, that's exactly what the score was.
That's
3
wild.
points, the same thing they predicted.
That's wild. It was pretty close. It was pretty tight for a while there. That's for sure. And I can tell you, my son, Austin, he was like, let's count how many times they put the camera on Taylor Swift. Well, in the first half alone, they put the camera on her twice. Mm-hmm. In the first half. Now, I don't know what it was the second half. Like I said, he fell asleep, I fell asleep. But the first half of the game, twice. Once in the first quarter and once in the second quarter. And that was it. So, halftime show. Did you catch that, Marty?
Actually, I caught up on messages and stuff like that. And I got to tell you, my biggest area of disappointment, maybe I'm getting too old, but I just didn't get most of the commercials. I'm not trendy enough or on top of things enough, but I didn't catch myself. I think one of them had Aubrey Plaza in it, who I really like,
right.
And she was flying around on a dragon or something. But mostly,
I didn't see that one. Yeah,
these people paid $70 million for that for 30 seconds. Really?
I was digging the M&M's commercial,
the Jesus one. That was really cool.
Yeah, the Jesus one was cool.
Yeah,
the washing of the feet and everything like that. That one was neat.
I like that one.
I did too. I also appreciated the M&M's commercial in the beginning. I like that one.
I didn't get it.
You didn't see that one?
No, I saw it, but I didn't understand what the point was.
It was the second place ring.
Yeah,
teams that didn't quite, and they had Terrell Owens like breathing a breath of something. It was funny though, the way it was.
My head.
Yeah, it was funny in my opinion. I liked it. But yeah, it's Super Bowl. It's come and gone. Now we got baseball season coming up. We got March Madness in college basketball.
Yeah, Justin.
Oh wait a minute, I passed one. I know where you're going.
What is this Sunday?
The chili cook-off or
the Daytona 500?
Is it this Sunday?
I think it is. Yeah.
I thought it was the chili cook-off at Stripers that I get to participate in. No? Now, that is happening, but we'll talk about that later. Okay. But, so, yeah, Daytona. Daytona's this coming weekend.
A lot of my stories are built around that speedway and my teenage years out there.
All right. Yeah, we're gonna talk a little bit more about Marty's history in just a little bit. We'll get to that point. News. I was trying to think if there was anything newsworthy to mention over the last week. Nothing that I can really think of off the top of my head. Marty, do you have any?
A really big piece of news from the fishing front?
Give us a little. Yeah, give us a taste.
The giant bluefin tunas, they're within a fish or two of closing the quota. So in other words, the commercial fishermen have already had their quota shut down a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
The recreational fishermen, you get one giant per year. And so now it's within like 700 pounds of the quota. They keep track of all that. And so if you go out and catch a 700-pound tuna, it's all over with. So yesterday, we'll talk more about that later, but that is big news when you have an offshore fleet like we have here.
Oh, yeah.
People from all over the world, including Asia, South Africa, all those European continent people over here with the light tackle. Big news.
Big news. Okay. There's a good piece of news. Now, I was going to say, like, I don't have anything, but if you go on over, my man Sam Walker. Do you know Sam Walker, Marty?
I know Sam Walker well. Real proud of Sam Walker and all of his physical competitions.
Yes, my
5K
goodness.
yesterday and stuff like that.
He does like 5Ks a week or something.
I do a 0.5K.
0.5K. Yeah, that's about where I'm at with it too, Marty. But say if you go to SamWalkerOBXNews.com, he's got that new website up and running. And, a lot of people, as I've said in the past, people are kind of griping, oh, what do I got to pay for it? Well, you know what? He's his own employee now. He doesn't answer to anybody. He is the answer. If that makes any sense. He's the one.
That's good. He should use that.
Yeah.
Sam Walker, the answer.
The answer. Yeah, it's true. I called him, when I worked with him at the radio station, I called him Grand Slam Walker because it seemed like every story he hit out of the park.
Yeah.
So I called him Grand Slam Walker.
On everything.
True.
On the pulse of everything.
That's very true.
Weather, park service, fishing, car accidents, you name it.
Yeah.
He's got his finger on it.
God bless him.
I don't know how he does it.
Fantastic guy, and I encourage you. And if you haven't had a chance to listen to his podcast, it's on all your major platforms, as is this one. Sam Walker, OBXNews.com, and the Sam and M podcast. He and his wife do it together. And it's definitely worth listening to. I got to get caught up, Sam. If you're listening right now, I'm a little bit behind. I got to get caught up. But definitely a fantastic individual. Love that guy a lot. And again, it's SamWalkerOBXNews.com. I want to recap real quick. Last week, I was at Saltbox Cafe with Randolph and Amanda Sprinkle. These are some fun folks. Now, that's like a culinary power couple. Okay, husband and wife combo there at Saltbox Cafe in Collington. They are, again, like I said, definitely a power couple in the culinary world here on the Outer Banks. Always looking for fresh new ideas, always thinking of new things and innovative ways to try things and cook things. And I really enjoyed spending time with them in the last podcast and hanging out with them. It was definitely a lot of fun to do that. And in that environment, I went to Saltbox Cafe and sat there at a table with them, and we chit-chatted and hammed it up and talked about how they got started and just took it from there. It was definitely a lot of fun. Want to shout out. I got a couple of shout outs here. Actually, I got like 5 today, Marty. Now, this little shout out segment I do for people that are listening or have told me they listen and things like that, or it's just somebody that I feel is worthy of a shout out. This is when I do that, Marty. Did you? Like I said, I have 5 of them that I want to do today. One of them, for sure. The other ones I'm not sure of, but did you have any shout outs you would like to do today, Marty?
I do, actually.
Okay.
Don't you think it's nice to have a job that you can change a person's life for the better?
Okay.
Right?
That's always a good thing, yeah.
So, Justin, that a year ago, John Bayless invited me to his gym, Roanoke Island Fitness Lab, and in that gym was a little lady named Winnie. And Winnie deserves a shout out. Winnie has been so patient with me, and I come in there not knowing anything, couldn't do anything, and she makes that class so fun. You've been in it. And we laugh and we joke, so it's good that way. But Winnie has changed my life on different health things for a person my age. And my doctor's like, whatever you're doing down there, keep doing it.
See?
And we don't need to get into those details, but Winnie is the reason why. Every one of those groups has a different instructor, but Winnie's the perfect one for our group. She's a dynamo, and she deserves a shout out.
Beautiful. Yeah, I love Winnie Backman. She's definitely a sweetheart of a person. I don't see her as often as you do, Marty, because I'm early morning, but
she does the workout before me as a student, and that's a hard one.
Yeah.
And then she leads our workout. But like the second or third time I ever went there, I get a text. How are you doing this evening? How do you feel after your workout? And she does that with everybody. She follows up. Before I was coming over here today, I was feeling after my workout feeling a little weak. There's reasons sometimes you feel that way.
Yeah.
And I'm out in the car talking to you on the phone, and somebody's knocking on the window with a bag full of an apple, some peanut butter, some graham crackers.
Oh, wow.
A jug of orange juice, and that's Winnie. So she's like, "You okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, you just gassed me in the workout, but other than that, I'm all right."
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and you've stuck with it. You've been doing it for a year, Marty. You
Well,
look great
now. Yeah.
You look.
My cardiologist told me, you know, whatever you're doing, he says your heart function is normal, and I have stuff going on.
Yeah.
But they said, that's why I tell her all the time, it must make you feel good to improve a person's life. Wouldn't you love to have that job to just make other people healthy?
She's fantastic. That whole group, little plug for Roanoke Island Fitness Lab. It's a great place. The people there are wonderful. I enjoy it. Again, I'm there early in the morning. And it definitely helps get my day going in the right direction for sure. If I don't go, my whole day's thrown off. So I try to stay steady at it 5 days a week.
You go that early. I don't know how you do that. I'd have a long drive. I couldn't do it, but
no. Well, and that might be the difference, Marty. Like you think about it, and my dad used to charter fish, and he still gets up at 5 a.m. You think about you charter fished for a long time. Mm-hmm. That internal clock kind of sets itself. And mine has done that doing early morning radio. Yeah. It kind of set itself. And now, like, I even when I have an alarm set, but even when I don't have an alarm set, my body will, like, sometimes, like, my body or in my dream or whatever, I'll tell myself I've slept too long or I'm oversleeping. And then I wake up and look at the clock. And a lot of times it's like 4:30 if it's on a non-gym day. Because my gym days are 3:45.
Yeah. Wait a minute. That's what time you get up.
That's the time I get up.
If the sun is up, or if it's even breaking daylight, my sleeping is done. There's no way I can sleep till 7 o'clock in the morning. I just can't do it because of what you just said. All those years of fishing, I was thinking while you were talking about one day I got a phone call, and it was my captain, Nevin Westcott, and he said, "How you doing this morning?" I said, "I'm doing great, Nevin." "Oh, good. What are you doing?" I said, "I'm just getting up." And he says, "Oh." So you looked out your window? I looked out the window. The sun was up. He was sitting at the boat with a charter, no other mate to grab, waiting for me to get up. And this is before cell phones. And,
oh, Lord.
It's like, why? I didn't get fired, but you can get fired for that.
Oh, yeah. Well, did you have another shout out you wanted to do? Was there anybody else?
Well, I think one of them is the one I like to is my son-in-law. Isn't he one on your list? Is that
no? That's not one of mine. I have somebody different, but that was
my
a good one.
My son-in-law, Donnie Smith. He runs the Duck Pizzazz Pizzeria.
Okay,
and he every father wants a really good husband for his daughter.
Right.
And this guy is phenomenal, and he puts up with my daughter. That's his greatest strength because she can be a little testy. He works really hard, a lot of double shifts, things like that. He's treated really well by his management, and he's happy in his job. But, my daughter and him, they have little Ella, who's now 5, and they went through an adoption process at birth, and that's been an incredible story in itself. But he's the best, number one, he's the best dad I've ever known.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And he just would rather spend time with her than anything in this world. But he does that. He also is really good to my daughter and very patient with her. He's a good financial provider, and she works a really good career from home. And that changes things around the household when your wife is working from home or your husband,
Right.
But he is a really, really good father and a good son-in-law. Hey, here's a good one. Not too long ago, I'm replacing flooring in my house. It's not as easy as it used to be getting down and doing that kind of work. And he come over, drove all the way over that hour drive to help me with flooring. And that was during the dirty part where you're pulling old flooring up. So I want to give Donnie a shout out because he does listen to you.
Okay, sweet.
Yeah, he's a very loyal listener. And I'm really great. And one of the best things is that whole family, they found a really good church now. And so they're going as a family to church. And what
Beautiful.
father couldn't be happy about that?
Amen. Mm-hmm. Amen. Totally agree with that. Mm-hmm. That's an amazing thing, Marty.
The father is the leader of the household, and to see him lead in that regard is great.
That's awesome. Mm-hmm. I love that. That's good. Speaking of shout outs, now, if you're a loyal listener like Mr. Donnie, let me know. I'd love to give you a shout out. I'd love to talk about you. Send me an email. It's podcast@outerbanksthisweek.com. Okay. Just podcast@outerbanksthisweek.com. Did you have any more? Is that it? Or did you have any others?
Well, no.
Okay.
Not right off.
Well, if you think of one in the middle of me doing mine,
Okay. All right.
feel free. Like I said, one of them we'll mention here in just a few moments. You will know who I'm speaking of. The first person I want to shout out to was someone who I know her okay. I don't know her that well. I've seen her out and about. I bumped into her a couple times. She's super sweet. Her name is Katie Roberts. Katie, I saw a post online the other day. She was going on a long trip or something. She made a Facebook post and she said, looking for something to listen to on my trip or whatnot. And I just commented, I was like, hey, the Outer Banks This Week podcast is fun to listen to. You can binge listen to all of them. And she said, I don't miss an episode or something to that degree, something to that along those lines. And I was like, you just earned yourself a spot on my shout out list. So I want to say hello to Katie and thank you for being a loyal listener to the podcast. The other one is a young man who is the age of my son, Austin. He's actually in Austin's class at Manny Elementary School, and he has been going through a rough time lately. His name, Reeling Crossweight.
Is that the one you thought I'd know?
Yes.
I was, it's funny because I was thinking about that as you brought it up.
He's finally home. Praise God. Praise God, he's finally made it home. I think they came home Saturday. When he started out just having the flu, and I hope that Ashley will listen to this or something and kind of correct me if I say anything wrong, but he started out with the flu and ended up at the hospital for a little bit, but was treated and released. This was about a month ago, I think. And then I'd say it was maybe a week later or so, come down with pneumonia really bad and was hospitalized at CHKD for a long time, at least 2 weeks, at least 2 weeks. It was probably longer than that. But when I got word of this, Austin came home from school and said, Daddy, Reeland's back in the hospital. And I'd learned that he had pneumonia, and I was like, wow, I didn't realize how sick he was. I started texting Ashley and Jordy, his parents, and I was like, giving me updates. We're praying for him in church and everything like that, and I was getting updates. And then when I saw her, I kind of backed off over a little bit when I started seeing her posting things online and status updates and things on social media about him and how he was doing. And so I kind of backed off over a little bit. And then I learned that, everything was it was so bad. They were having to drain the fluid from his lungs, and he had to unenroll, or was it disenroll? I hope I'm saying that the right way. I don't know the right term, but
it was disenroll.
Yeah, disenrolled from Manny Elementary Schools, and he was having to do school at CHKD, and now I think they're going to get him back into school here. But again, he's still got a long road to recovery, and he's still got things going on, but he's home. And that's just a blessing and a prayer answered that hopefully he's on his way up. And I actually messaged Ashley this morning, this morning being Monday morning, and I just told her, I said, Austin would love to see Reeling. Because like I said, when we were texting back and forth, I asked Austin, I don't know what it is, Marty, but kids these days, or I was the same way, so I guess it's not, I can't say kids these days, but have you ever told a mama joke? Your mama's so whatever. Well, apparently kids these days just look at you like your mom. Well, I asked Austin the other day when I was texting back and forth with Ashley. I said, hey, Austin, I'm texting Reeland's mom right now. Do you want to send Reeland a message? And he said, yeah, tell Reeland I said your mom. So I texted that to Ashley, and she texted me back, and she was like, oh, my gosh. He says that all. I was like, I guess it's something that they do at school with each other because they sit beside each other in the cafeteria. And she's like, when he wakes up, I'm going to tell him that from Austin. I can't wait to see his expression, yada, yada, yada. And she was saying about how she wanted Austin to come over and see him when they got home and whatnot. And I told her this morning, whenever you're ready, you let me know and I'll bring him over. So I wanted to shout out to Reeland real quick.
Well, in the form of a lateral shout out, well, of course, Jordan Crossweight and Aaron Crossweight are my godsons.
Yes.
And so Reeland is Jordan's son.
Right.
So follow that closely. But the lateral shout out would be Children's Hospital of the King's Daughters, which I spent a lot of time there with my youngest daughter. And an incredible place. I don't know if people here on the Outer Banks realize how lucky we are to have that caliber of care for our little ones.
And it being in, just so people know, that's in Norfolk, Virginia.
Yeah, it's right next to Norfolk General or Centera, I think they call it now.
Yeah, yes, Norfolk Centera, yeah.
Yeah, but so one day when we get deeper into some stories, I'll tell you a story about what happened to me there in a window bed unit on the day before Christmas.
Ah.
So I have seen total miracles there and seen God in ways you just can't imagine.
Right.
And I often say, Justin, not to get spiritual on you, but I often make the statement, thank God for modern medicine. And what I mean by that is we live in a time and an era, something like what he was just dealing with, a little real, that could have been very deadly.
No, yeah,
so
totally.
Thank God for the medicines and the technology and for Children's Hospital.
Amen. Yeah, I can't disagree with that at all. But I hope Reeland, he's on his way up, so that's great. Also want to shout out to a friend of mine named Troy YP Tugwell. Troy Tugwell. I had
a former Sunday school student of mine.
Yes, he has a nickname Wipey, like the letter Y and the letter P. Okay, and a lot of people call him Wipey. Hey,
that's new.
Yeah, so I saw him over the weekend. It was actually Friday night, this past Friday night, and every time I see him, though, I'll see him periodically because he works in downtown Manio a lot, and I'll see him periodically around here, and he'll tell me, man, I was listening to the podcast the other day, and you said this, and I know he's listening because he's saying things back to me that I've said on the podcast, and I've never given him a shout out, and I was like, he needs one. So, Wipey, who's snitching? We're just going to leave it at that. All right, bro? Okay. My wife, I want to shout out to her family real quick. This past weekend, I went to Bristol, Tennessee, Bristol, Virginia. Her grandmother had passed away a few weeks ago, and we had the memorial service for them, and that was I felt like I would be able to hold it together. I knew her grandmother, loved her grandmother. She was a fantastic person. She was 94 years old, and I'll walk into a funeral or whatnot thinking I can hold it together, and then when I'll tell you the truth, Carrie was she cried just about the whole time. Austin was latched on my arm. He was crying. That didn't get me. What got me was her daddy was sitting in front of me. It was Carrie's daddy's mama. And when I saw a tear come out of his eyes, that's when I lost it, And I didn't boo-hoo, but I was just like, man, come on now, like one of those things where you're like, oh gosh, and you try to kind of hold it back, but it was just one of those things where it's like when I was looking at him and I saw tears coming out of his eyes, I was like, oh man, that got me. So shout out to her family and prayers for them, because I know they're still, that woman was a rock for them, and I know that they're going to be. It's still a little bit of a road for them to go down with her not being there.
Oh, you only get one mama.
That's true.
Or one grandma. Well, you get two grandmas, but
yeah,
I only met one of my grandmothers and none of my grandfathers.
Oh, wow.
They died before I got old enough to know them,
Wow.
I miss that. I love being a grandparent. You'll find out. Remember I told you this, it's the greatest joy in life is having a grand. Your dad could tell you
Mitchell
that.
Bateman has told me on more than one occasion, if I could have skipped you boys and gone straight to yeah, I would.
I hadn't thought about it that way.
Well, and that's the thing. So for me, it's funny because he is. I just look at how he does with my boys and my brother's son, and he. I just think I would have never gotten away with that. What the? He's like, you weren't a grandson, and he'll tell me, and I'm like, and I think to myself, I was like, my dad loves my boys more than he loves me. Mm-hmm. And I'm okay with that.
I remember, you've heard this before. People used to always tell me, you'll love being a grandparent. And I thought it was the old joke that I said, yeah, because when you get tired of the baby, you can hand them back to the parents. I'm like, is that why you? But that's not what they meant at all. What it is, you think you know how much you love your son.
Oh, yeah.
But the love for a grandchild is completely different. It's different, Justin.
Huh.
It's not the same. And it's intense, and it's really special, and it's different than parent love. So just remember I told you that.
I will. I'll definitely take that to heart, Marty. My last shout out real quick. All those that came to the Dueling Piano Dare Education Foundation event this past Friday night, which was where I saw my buddy Troy Wipey Tugwell. All those that came, we really appreciate all of you that have poured back into the Dare Education Foundation and hung out for the Dueling Piano event and enjoyed everything and had a good time. Really appreciate all the volunteers. My friend Macy and Kara and Barbara, part of the board and whatnot, they worked tirelessly. I can't forget about Melissa and Jamie and some of the others that participated in it. My friend Heather. They really, really worked so hard to make sure that thing went off the right way, and it was a huge success. Everybody had a great time, and I look forward to doing it. Hopefully we do something like that or that same event again next year. And want to definitely got to thank Malcolm Faring and the Faring family for allowing us to use 108 Budley as the space for that event. So that's it for shout outs. And again, if you listen to the podcast, please let me know. I'll give you a shout out. Podcast at OuterBanksThisWeek.com. All right, we're going to learn more about our friend Marty here in just a few moments and why I call him Captain Marty, which you may have already kind of figured that out. And some of you that know who Captain Marty is, you know exactly why I call him Captain Marty. But before I do that, I was talking about Saltbox Cafe just a few moments ago, but Saltbox Cafe is a sponsor of the Outer Banks This Week podcast. Now, they are a charming cottage-style restaurant right there in the heart of Collington Island. Make sure you go in and meet the owners and the chefs, Randolph and Amanda Sprinkle, as they prepare a tasty array of eats featuring local seafood, fresh meats, and produce. And again, they're always keeping that menu fresh. I'd say they change it around, shift it around every couple of weeks or so, trying new things and different innovative ways of doing things. It's definitely a fun place. They have tapas nights, they have wine nights, and you can see all of this stuff online at thesaltboxcafe.com. Now, reservations are required. You must make a reservation in order to eat there. 252-255-5594. Now, you can't do it online. You got to call them, 252-255-5594. Guarantee you'll enjoy it. I've heard that they have a fantastic bowl of shrimp and grits.
One of my favorites.
Yeah, see, like, that is something, part of their Sunday brunch that they do, that I really want to try. If I had a friend of mine, my friend Heather, I just mentioned a moment ago with the dueling pianos that helped out with that. She was saying, you got to go for the brunch, the Sunday brunch. So I'm looking forward to making a reservation for that in the near future. Again, online at thesaltboxcafe.com and call them 252-255-5594. All right, Captain Marty. So just so you know, Captain Marty, a local fishing legend. Now, I know you shake your head over there, but I can say this, all right?
Legend in my own mind.
No. This individual is fished the waters of the Outer Banks and around different places up and down the East Coast for quite some time. We're talking 55-plus years. Is that accurate?
Well, yeah, more front-loaded because I slowed way down since I retired from that and went in some other directions, as you know.
Right.
But I've been involved in the fisheries business all my life in one way or another. I'm one of the very few people that has experienced commercial fishing, charter fishing, and fisheries management.
Ooh.
All three.
Yes, that's the trifecta, we'll call it.
Of each one.
The fishing trifecta.
Yeah.
But this individual has been providing good quality. He's entertained us with his stories. He keeps us informed with his fishing reports over the years. Entrepreneur at one point. And again, like he said, he worked for the fisheries for a little while. Good friend of mine. I've known him for quite some time now, and I'm very glad and very happy that he has agreed to join us here at Outer Banks this week and share those stories with us and do fishing reports with us in the near future. We're going to get that up and launched. But Marty, welcome. We'll start with that. Welcome.
Well, thanks, Justin. I'm glad to be here. I'm excited about what we've been talking about in multiple meetings, changing gears a little bit in my career. And, it's a funny thing. It's still media.
Yeah, it's true.
It's media. And remember, that in high school, I was a journalism major. Mm-hmm. I went off to junior college. I was a journalism major. I was the editor of my college newspaper and all that. But at the same time, I was coming to Hatteras after growing up, in a headboat fleet and coming to Hatteras to fish. And after 2 years with those good people down there, I call my dad. Said, Dad, not going back to college.
So
I want to catch a blue marlin.
Let's start. Okay, now where are you from, Marty? How if you don't mind me asking?
You would know it as Daytona Beach.
Okay, Daytona Beach. Yep, know that.
Really, there's a little town at the south end on the peninsula. It would be like just being at the Oregon Inlet Fishing Center. I'm from Ponce Inlet.
Okay.
That's the actual inlet. Has a big, it's at the south end of Daytona, and it's got a couple landmarks. The old south turn. Remember when you watched the NASCAR beach when they raced on the beach? Mm-hmm. The south turn of that track where they raced up the beach went around the north turn, come down A1A on a paved road.
A1A.
And then back onto the beach again. That south turn was a banked turn cut out of the sand dunes. That was 200 feet from my house.
Oh, no kidding.
So as kids, we played on the historic bank turns and pretty much trampled them down. But
oh, wow.
The other thing that's there, and our locals down on Hatteras will take issue with this, there's a big red lighthouse. Looks just like the Currituck Lighthouse. And that lighthouse is, for many, many years, was the second tallest lighthouse on the East Coast. I think it was 151 feet. Mm-hmm. You know how tall I think we looked up the other day, the Hatteras Lighthouse is 160 some, or anyway, Hatteras has always been the tallest lighthouse on the East Coast, but they moved it. Remember? They moved the lighthouse.
Yeah, okay,
and so now the Ponce Inlet Lighthouse and their advertising says tallest lighthouse in the United States on its original foundation. So they're kind of taking a stab at the Hatteras Lighthouse because they moved. So people will argue. To me, the Hatteras Lighthouse will always be the tallest.
Well, according to the National Park Service, NPS.gov, the tallest brick lighthouse in the United States is the Cape Hatteras Lighthouse, measuring at 198 and a half feet.
Yeah, that's 40 or 50 feet.
Yeah, taller.
Currituck, we looked up the other day, is 161, I think. But,
okay.
Anyway, yeah, that's where I grew up. Justin, you would have loved it because the beach, the Daytona Beach, was a block east. The Intercoastal Waterway with the headboat docks and the marinas that I grew up around was a block west, and the inlet was a block south. So just like I said, it was like if you had built a house at the Oregon Inlet Fishing Center where you had the ocean, the sound, and the inlet, that's kind of where I grew up. And over the years, I have certainly taken a crowd of people from up here down to Daytona for the races, stay at my parents' house, and but that's where I started. And I remember my dad was with NASA and worked all through the Apollo program.
Oh, wow.
And when when we came back from his training out in Arizona, he said, I found a little house in this place called Ponce Inlet. And we're like, well, what is it? So I had two sisters and two brothers, and I'm the middle size. And anyway, he went up and purchased the house where I just told you about, and then came back and got us. We were an hour down the road, closer to Cape Canaveral, and brought us to look at it. So me and my two brothers were like, yes.
Yeah.
We got fishing, we got surfing, we got everything, And my sisters were like, oh, no, where have you moved us to?
Oh, Lord.
But over the years, we all came to love it dearly.
Beautiful, beautiful. Now, you oftentimes, I've heard you in the past, you've talked about how you kissed your mama goodbye and said, I'm going to Hatteras. What was that all about? What happened there?
I sure did, because I had a brother-in-law that was the youngest charter boat captain in Daytona Beach at 18 years old. He knew all about Oregon Inlet. Now, nowadays, we got our fleet going to the Pacific Ocean.
Right.
In those days, if you were in Florida, to come to the Outer Banks was a big, big deal.
Okay.
Or for us to go to South Florida in the winter, or the Bahamas.
Okay.
To go to the Bahamas was like going to another world. But my brother-in-law told me, look, when you get out of school this summer, you need to go to somewhere between Wrightsville Beach and Rudy Inlet, with the ideal spot being Hatteras or Oregon Inlet if you want to fish. Why? Because my goal was to catch a blue marlin as a mate. I didn't care about catching. That's cruise. They want to run the show. They're basically catching the fish. But and so he taught me how to rig baits. He taught me how to get everything geared up. And I had a van because it was the 70s. You're too young to remember. But everybody had vans with the moon hubcaps and the paintings on the side. And no father would ever let their daughter go on. I went on a date one time, and the father said, take my car. You're not taking my daughter. You're not taking my daughter in that van.
Oh, Lord.
So, but I built a bed in the back of my mother. She, underneath that bed, packed it with canned goods and staple items and a Coleman stove and all that stuff. And I left. Oh, well, first I went to graduation from high school at the High Life Fronton. You know what High Life is? You don't know what High Life is? It's a Hispanic sport.
I've heard of it.
Indoors, it's gambling. You gamble on it, but it's almost like racquetball.
Okay. You say racquetball.
They have a big basket on the hand, and it's real high speed. but right across from the Speedway at Daytona. But that's where we graduated.
Okay.
Because it was had big stadium seating and all that. And my grandmother and my mother and dad and others were at that thing. And it got over. It was like 9 o'clock at night. It was dark. I had already packed everything in my van. I went out, had my diploma, my high school diploma, went out in the car, kissed my mom and dad and grandmother goodbye, and drove all night long to Wrightsville Beach. And I was like, I remember, I got to tell you, Justin, I cried all the way through Georgia because I was like, I had a really happy childhood, and my parents are great, and my mother was a saint.
Right.
And I got up there drove all night long and got to Wrightsville Beach in the morning. And the goal was to hit their tournaments as they were moving north, the spring tournaments like we have here.
Yep.
Hoping to find a job, any kind of job where I could catch the blue marlin. And I fished, there was a boat there called the Bolo Junior, had a girl mate.
Okay.
And they weren't going to hire me. He told me, my brother-in-law, you got to walk the dock. And boy, have I ever led other people to walk the dock for a job over the years. This girl said, well, you can ride out with us, but we can't pay you. And I'm like, okay, I'll learn. I'll ride out. Fish tournament. I rode out 2 days. Never been so seasick in my whole life. I mean, they went 70 miles. It was rough. On the second day, I was sleeping in the parking lot in my van down by the river. Anyway, I got my van and went up to Morehead City. Went to Morehead City and hung around walking the docks. Then their tournament started, which is now known as the Big Rock. I found a boat that said, well, you can ride out with us, but we're not going to pay you anything. And I didn't have enough money to get back to Florida. I mean, I had to make something if I was ever going to go home.
Right.
I fished 2 days, never been more seasick in my life. Same thing. Rough. I was like, oh my gosh. After 2 days of that, I got in my van and drove up to the ferries. I'd been to Hatteras the summer before for 1 week. I said, I've just got to get to Hatteras. And I got off the ferry in Hatteras, started walking the docks there. The very first person I met who had gotten there for his first day as well, and that's another story, but was John Bayless, the famous boat builder.
You talking about the John Bayless of Bayless Boat Works?
We both started the same day. And somehow or another, when I got to Hatteras, I just knew I was home. And so I fished that summer freelancing, and I finally got a job on a Palm Beach charter boat. That's the way it used to be. The Florida boats would come up for the summer, and our boats would go south for the winter. A lot of them did.
Okay.
And this was this fiery little Italian guy. He didn't know what he was doing, but I got on that boat, and I spent most of the summer with him. We never caught a billfish out of Hatteras. Now, think about that.
Huh.
And I was like, am I going to catch my first blue marlin or what? And I rented a little room off of the mobile home he was renting, a little cabana room. And at night, I was already homesick. I'd lay there in bed and hear him talking to his wife, who was a sweetheart. That I can't say what he actually said, but he said that dagamod, he cannot do a thing. He doesn't know what he's a doing. And I was like, I hated it, And so, but I stuck it out. And a couple of days later, he was coming in from offshore. He came in on the wrong side of Diamond Shoals, so he didn't exactly know a whole lot about what he was doing either. Anyway, he fired me. I had like 2 weeks left to go in my summer before I had to go back to college. He fired me to make room on his boat for a friend of his from Palm Beach. Buddy Hooper. You talk about shout-outs. Buddy Hooper was there, and Bull Tolson was his mate. And Bull wanted to take a week off before he went back to high school. Famous mate captain combo, those two were.
Bull Tolson of the Sea Toy now, right?
Yeah, and this would have been on the Sea Whisper days.
Okay.
The boat that famously had the best hum or fish attracting ability of any boat ever built in our area. Buddy Hooper said, come fish with me. Bull wants to go up to Canada and go fishing for a week before high school. Come on and just fill in for me. And I went on there, and in that 1 week, I had more fun. B, caught more fish because he was a teacher, and he taught me the Outer Banks style of offshore fishing. And I wasn't even close. Being raised on head boats in Florida, snapper and grouper fishing. I had more fun, made more money, and Justin, on the last day, before I had to get in my van and drive back to school to Florida, on the last day, he said, man, it's really blowing. We had a guy named Dr. Trenton. I'll never forget it. And a realtor named Bob Barris, who's still in the realty business on the Outer Banks, and he was a mate. And Buddy said, "It's going to be really rough, Dr. Trenton." Dr. Trenton said, "Let's go." We did. And sure enough, we got out there, and it was so rough. No other boat went fishing, but at 10 o'clock that morning, we hooked, fought, and boated a 106-pound blue marlin, not very big. And when he gaffed him, he pulled him over. The fish was jumping when Buddy gaffed it.
Okay.
It landed in the cockpit, broke the fighting chair off flush with the deck.
Oh, holy smokes.
And was wild. But we only fought him for less than a minute. And he was wild on the deck. And I was wrestling, hanging onto that thing's bill with my legs wrapped around its body and getting beaten all around. Buddy Hooper and Bob Harris, they jumped back up on the bridge and just laughed and watched. But on the very last day, my very first summer, I met my goal. And that's why I did it one more summer and then just quit college. No regrets about making fishing a career, Justin. I do regret not finishing school, but it was. And so I got in my van and headed home and got robbed at gunpoint in a rest stop in Georgia.
I remember you telling that story.
So all the money I made, I lost. I was the only time I've ever been robbed, but I was robbed in a rest area. So anyway, that's how I got to North Carolina.
That story, that's a story for another day.
Yeah.
I remember you telling me that story a while back. I was thinking about that earlier.
You know, my friends all tell me that I can't cross the street without something happening to me, and that's very true.
Well, Marty, so you started out as a mate. Okay. Now, when did you make the jump to captain?
Great story.
How did you get the name Captain, Marty?
Yeah,
I guess we should.
I made
better
it
question.
2 summers in Hatteras, and then I moved up to Oregon Inlet. I got hired by Nevin Westcott, met him at the Hatteras Marlin Club. He was having a new Billy Holton boat built, and so I was hired to come up for the following summer for the long summer, not the short 3 months like I was doing and going back to school. I went that winter down to the Keys and fished at Ocean Reef. Tons of stories that come out of there, like fishing with Cher and Greg Allman in the 10 days that they were married.
Oh.
Anyway, but came back up, and I made it 2 years on the Sundancer, which is, you'll know the boat now, it's the Hooker.
Okay.
For Nevin Westcott. Then I jumped over onto the Fighting Lady with Captain Sam Stokes and fished 2 years. Following, John Bayless was the mate before me, and Mike Bennett before him. So I was following some tall footsteps. And survived those 2 years. And then the final 2 years, John Bayless had gotten the original Tar Heel built. And if you, on my Facebook page this week, I told a story about that. But he was my best friend. We'd been through everything together, you know. And so I made it for 2 summers for him. And we had a ball together. I was telling this week, we would think nothing of fishing all day, driving to Virginia Beach, going to a Ramones concert, and then me and the captain, and then driving home, getting home at 4, and just go right to the boat and leave at 5 and go fishing again. That was the good old days. But how I got to be captain was in that second year, we were getting ready to move on to our 3rd year, and it was early spring, and I got a call one morning, and John was distraught, and his father had been killed in a car accident the night before, and his mother was hanging on by a thread. And so he said, "I'm going to California." And on the first flight out of Norfolk, and I thought about that for a few minutes, Justin. I said, "I'm going to California too." And I got on the next flight at 9 o'clock and followed him and Hilda to California. It's been a really tough 2 weeks there. And his mother was lingering. And so he could not do it. He said to me, "Marty, I want you to take my wife back to the Outer Banks, make sure she gets back home safely.
Right.
You'll fly with her across the country, and you're now the captain of the Tar Heel." Luckily, I had my captain's license. I'd gotten it, and so went to school together. So I left as the mate and came back as the captain, and I ran that boat for 2 years with Charlie Griffin as my mate. And we went, and that was, and then after that, most people know me from my years on the reeling, which I'm very proud of. And I did that for a long time. Then I finished up on the nicest charter boat I ever ran, which was the Sea Breeze with George Sawyer. On that boat, I got 2 motors, fancy everything, had a ball.
So you've been around this industry. You've been around the fishing industry, commercially, sport, and the marine fisheries side of things.
20 years with marine fisheries. Yeah, I did captain, mate, a little bit of commercial fishing off and on in the fall for king mackerel. I did 1 year of drop netting with John Bayless, ocean gill netting. That was the toughest thing I ever did in my life. I'm not afraid to admit I'm not cut out for it. And then And then I went in the tackle business for 6 years with Captain Marty's store over on the beach. And we got in and got out at a bad time, but we got out and paid everybody. So we just had to kind of, you lick your wounds a little bit.
Yeah.
My advice from that is if you love hunting or fishing, don't ever buy a hunting and fishing store. That's what I did. I thought that'll be cool. I love hunting and fishing.
Yeah.
No hunting and fishing when you own a business.
You're married to the business.
You're married to the business.
So all those different experiences, all the fishing, everything like that, and then you launched a radio program.
I did. Way back when I had my tackle shop, I, like so many people, I bought advertising, and I wanted to do something different, which is something I'm looking forward to doing with you. But the different thing was, this is a story I love to tell. I was one day sitting there, I'm paying for advertising, and I sat there and read an article in Reader's Digest magazine about Dallas, Texas. Have you been there?
I have. I was stationed in Fort Hood, Texas for a while.
Okay.
I had some friends that lived up in Dallas. I would go up there occasionally.
Never been there, but evidently in the middle of the skyscrapers is a terraced off, like a park.
Yeah.
It's not really a park, whatever you call it, a terrace break area.
Yeah.
In the middle of the city with the skyscrapers all the way around it. And the office workers, a lot of them go out there with their lunch and eat lunch middle of the day. Well, this guy from out on the range would load up his horse in a horse trailer, pull it within a block of that terrace area, get the horse out, put on his big tall cowboy hat, hop on the horse, and ride into downtown Dallas. And when he got there, he'd turn his hat upside down on the sidewalk, and he would tell stories about life on the range, out with the cows and the horse. Because even though all those people lived and worked in Dallas, almost none of them had been out on the range. So I thought, you know what? That's how it is here. There's an awful lot of people here that take this Gulf Stream and this beautiful fleet, which we'll talk about more in days to come, for granted. And so I started telling stories and paying to tell those stories. Then when we sold the store, the people I was doing that with said, hey, how about we start paying you now?
There you
go.
That
was 25 years ago, Justin. 25 years we did that. Stories and fishing reports.
And stories. I was going to say your stories, and then you were doing the fishing reports and everything like that, which has kind of brought us together today because I worked with Marty for about a 8 or 9 year period of that. Where we would get you on the phone and you would give us a story or a fishing report daily, Monday through Friday at least. And I remember when you would be doing the Saturday show, occasionally if I had some work extra I needed to do at the radio station, I would come in on a Saturday and sometimes I'd pop in and say, hey, or I would play a character from time to time.
You filled in a few times, didn't you? On the Saturday show, I think you did.
I did fill in a few times for Jody when he was not able to be there or whatnot.
Right.
And we had a lot of fun with that. And just over the years, we built a good friendship, and we're both brothers in Christ. It's a very nice thing, and I'm glad that we've been able to connect in this way, and been able to bring you over and come to work. And again, like you said, there's just a lot more fun to be had. We've got so many different things we're going to be doing together, and I look forward to what the future holds for you specifically, and us as a company here at Outer Banks this week. Quick question, Marty, and this
Can I say one thing real quick?
Oh no, yeah, go right ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
I just will tease our listeners that maybe haven't heard of what I do before or heard me do it. Think about the longest time a marlin has ever been fought in 24 hours. One fish, 24 hours. Think about the biggest fish ever caught in all of the Atlantic Ocean, 1,228.5 pounds, 2008 Pirates Cove tournament. I mean, think about swimming.
That was Paul Spencer, wasn't it?
Yes.
I thought so.
Think about a man falling off the back of a boat and swimming 15 miles in 15 hours all the way to the beach and rescuing himself, and think about a guy speared all the way through his chest by a blue marlin, and on the camera you can see his shirt poke out in the back, and then the marlin fought. This was in Australia, but we do tell stories from all over the world, and I'm looking forward to giving you a little taste of that. So
excellent.
Now you can ask your question.
Well, my question was, Marty, think about all the fishing that you've done and all these years. Would you care to give me an idea of? You were looking for your first blue marlin. We were talking about that. So since you've caught that first blue marlin, how many would you say you have caught? Is that an?
I don't have a clue, but I will say this, and the Oregon Inlet fleet is the most modest, but then bragging does not go well in that fleet.
Well, I'm not asking you to brag. Just
No.
That's not where I was going with that at all.
And then you got people like Arch Bracher on the Pelican, a local that is the top billfish release captain in the world for several years.
Okay.
But one thing I am proud of that will relate to that question.
Okay.
On the slowest, the reeling, the boat I had the reeling was the slowest boat in the fleet. So that put me at a disadvantage, but sometimes it worked in my favor. But I did put on the dock 7 blue marlin over 500 pounds.
Very nice.
One, my biggest was 807, and I'm very proud of that.
Very nice. Okay. All right. So I just want to give everybody a little bit of a taste. Those, like you said, that may not know who you are or are not familiar with you. Just kind of a little bit of a resume to say, this guy's just not going to be popping in telling random stories that don't make any sense, or you seem like it's a tall tale. Like Marty's stories are 100% true. His fishing reports 100% accurate. He makes sure that he calls and talks to different captains, different marinas, the piers. We got a gentleman named Tony Lombardi, who also has like the walkingangler.com. He does a lot with Marty and helps him with some of the fishing reports and things of that nature. And I look forward to, maybe having Tony come in sometime and talking with us all again. But that's what I was kind of going for, was like just kind of giving people a little bit of a resume.
Keep this in mind, resume-wise. I started the summer after 4th grade fishing on big head boats for snapper and grouper. This is the key, in the heyday of snapper and grouper fishing, when it was really good, before they were overfished and all the laws came in and things like that. I came to Oregon Inlet and fished through that fleet in the heyday of the backyard boat builders. What became one. I helped 7 boats from start to build 7 boats from start to finish. I worked for Omi Tillett, Bobby Sullivan, Captain Buddy Kennedy, Irvin Forbes, with complete boat builds. But back when a charter boat was a single engine boat and you could make a living like that, I went through all that. Now the boats are much more advanced. They're all twin engines. And I came to the fleet where I got to fish with the old legends of the fleet, the Omi Tillets and Buddy Kennedys, but also got to fish with the new people, the new young and upstarts. So it's a wide, I just came to at the right time.
You did. You definitely did. You definitely did. I remember, talking to my dad when I first kind of started doing this stuff with you in the radio world, and Dad's like, "Oh, I know Marty," because Dad had fished with you out of Oregon Inlet a good handful of times. Again, there's a legacy here that this individual that's sitting across from me is definitely a knowledgeable individual when it comes to the fishing world, specifically here on the Outer Banks, and I look forward to doing a lot of work with him. One more question that I always think it's a really neat little story that you tell, and I'll have you tell this one before we jump into some events. But I was thinking, Marty, do you remember your very first charter, your very first customer? As I guess it was, your very first charter, I guess we should call it. Do you remember who that was?
Oh, I could never forget it.
Okay.
And most people could never forget their first paying charter, not being a part of a charter. Most people remember that too. But
yeah,
as far as my very first charter as a sort of a captain, it was the summer after the 5th grade. I wasn't a licensed captain, but my friend Mark Brown, who lived down the street from me in Ponce Inlet, whose dad was a charter boat captain, had built a skiff for him. It was what you would know as a bateau.
Okay, yeah.
Flat on the front, flat on the back. Duck hunters use them a lot.
Right.
It was built out of wood, but Mark's dad was going to build him a new one. I mean, to me, Mark's dad was like God. Captain Bud Brown. And by the way, all those captains I fished with in those early days were all ex-Navy. Everybody had been in the service.
Oh, wow.
Fighting in World War II and whatnot. And I'll tell a lot of stories together with you about Jake Stone, retired Navy commander, short temper, glow plug head. When he got mad, his whole face turned red. But Bud Brown was going to build his son, Mark Brown, a new skiff. And Mark Brown went on I tell a lot of people there are gifted fishermen and there are learned fishermen. They're both equally good. Bull Tolson is a gifted fisherman. Many of our listeners will know him.
Right.
John Bayless is a learned fisherman. He learned it and is has won tournaments all over the world. They're both equally good, but they come to that different ways. Mark Brown was one of 5, or not many, gifted fishermen I truly met. When he was getting his new boat, he asked me, did I want to buy the old one? I couldn't believe it. So I said, how much? He said, $25. I'm like, and there's no motor on this boat. It's a rowboat. I mean, it's a big rowboat, but it had oar locks and
right.
It didn't matter. I said, does it come with dockage? Because they lived on the river and they had a little sand beach. I said, as long as I can keep it at your dock, and they let me. That's a big deal.
That is a big deal.
People
don't realize that.
I only lived a block away. I couldn't get it there, you know. So
right.
I got dockage and the boat for $25. And then you're too young, but Jody and I have talked about this, and other fishermen, a lot of our listeners will know, you could go in Field and Stream magazine. There was always a page of like, all of this for $19, and it's all these hooks. And I used to sit at home at night on the couch staring at that. I want that page.
Oh, wow.
I want that whole collection. And finally, I mean, $25 for the boat, $19. I ordered it. I ordered cleaning head boats at $2 a piece, you know, on the weekends to buy the boat and to buy that tackle. The tackle was useless. It was just a come on. But I finally got some tackle, and what we love to do, you'll know this, is fish for sheephead. In Florida, you'll always hear me call them sheephead, where up here they call them sheeps, plural, sheep's head.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So I could row down to what was called the paint docks. Battelle Laboratory had a place where they sampled paint underwater. No telling how many chemicals were on all that, but we'd go down there, dig fiddler crabs, and fish right next to the pilings. It was about a quarter-mile row, pretty good row, you know, but it didn't bother me. I had a boat, and I kept the name, the Fanny Dunker.
Okay.
And it's funny, when I finish the story, I'll tell you how that was appropriate. So I had this stuff. I was technically, I told my mom, I said, I want to take people out as a guide. And my mom said, well, I want to be your first charter. How much?
Oh, wow.
I didn't think about how much, you know, so I set up a price. I said, $5. $5 for half a day charter to the paint docks. And again, like she did so many times, I could think about this day like it happened yesterday. So I got up in the morning, went down to like the head boats did to get ready, you know, wipe down the seats, get the bait on board, check all the tackle. And here comes my mom on her bicycle. It was only a block, you know. She rides a bicycle down there with a basket with lunch. Of course, it's your mother. She's not going to come without lunch.
No, of course not.
Brings this little basket. She sits on the stern because I'm in the middle seat looking back. You know how you row a boat. You're not looking where you're going. You're looking where you've been.
Yeah.
Know? So I said, I treat her just like I have been on the head boats as a bait boy. I knew how to treat a charter. So we started rowing. It was a beautiful day. We rowed down to the paint docks. We had to stop and dig fiddler crabs first. Got the fiddler crabs, which is, as you know, the number one bait for our sheephead.
Oh, yeah.
Got down there to the paint docks. Lo and behold, the boat's name is the Fanny Dunker, and we caught like 6 or 8 nice sheephead. So the Lord blessed me with my mama. But I went to untie the bow of the boat and tripped on the cleat and fell overboard. So the Fanny Dunker was a really appropriate name.
Yeah.
I could swim like a fish. I jumped right back in the boat. My mom was terrified, but that was we caught, I think, 6 or 7 nice sheephead, and I got tipped. I got $5 for the charter, and I got a $2 tip. So I made $7.
So that was your first charter, first experience.
With my mom.
No, that's when, I guess we could say in some ways, Captain Marty was born.
Kind of. True.
You captained that boat. You took your mother out fishing. You caught some good sheephead, and the rest is history. She paid you. I mean, that's a paid charter. I think that qualifies you.
Yeah, I was.
You are now a professional fisherman.
I had to have a license, but that didn't seem to matter.
No, not back then. Nobody cared. Nowadays, never mind. We're not going to get into all that. Well, Marty, again, like I said, I'm glad that you were able to come in and be on the podcast with me on my platform. You're going to have your own platform. It's going to be the Captain Marty. Let me see. Let me give you the technical term.
We're talking about that.
Yeah, the Captain Marty fishing reports and stories. That's what it's going to be. We may alter that over time. We may see. We might get a little creative.
How about Captain Marty goes to sea?
Captain Marty goes to sea.
Captain Marty went to sea.
So like I said, we're going to experiment with it.
Yeah, and it shows.
But nonetheless, we're going to have you. You're a vital part of all of this now, and we're very thankful to have you. And again, look forward to hearing his fishing reports on his platform. Of course, we'll be promoting that and all of his stories. We're going to be recording them and putting them up as well. And who knows what the future may hold? You did a Saturday morning show for quite some time, Marty.
25 years.
25 years.
And we're going to also, Justin, be doing we'll be redoing what I did for a long time too, the fishing guide.
Yes.
It will now be under our umbrella. And with the One Boat Inc. people with all their expertise and creativity, I can't wait to see what we're going to do with the fishing guide.
Well, you got a little taste of it a little bit ago when Boss Man Phil was in here before we started recording and was showing you the logo and maybe potential covers and everything for the guide. It's definitely a very exciting time for us, and we hope it is and stays exciting for you because we really were like hey let's get Marty squared away and get him taken care of and bring him on board at One Boat, one on board at One Boat,
What I'm most excited about, I got it. What I'm most excited about, Justin, is working with locals, local people, everybody. It's just going to be easier than having people all across the country. And these are local people that I've known, that know my family. I've known their family, and I just have a very good feeling about it. And I appreciate everybody that will give us a chance and listen, and I'd love to know your feedback.
Well, and I can tell you some feedback right now. So I want to shout out real quick to Red Drum Tackle.
Oh, yeah.
Down in Buxton. I was talking with Miss Kara, and I believe her son's name's Bobby. Because her husband was Bobby. You were
Bob.
Bob.
And our son's Bobby. And I used to live with them. Everything you bring up, Jody, I'm going to have a tie-in.
Justin, but that's okay.
I did live with them, rode out a couple hurricanes with them in Buxton years ago.
Yeah, they were telling me that Bob, the husband, before he passed, you guys were super tight. And that you guys did live together for they did tell me that.
House got full of snakes because of the water came up. Are those snakes in our house? And that's what it was.
Well, when I mentioned that you were coming to work, they got excited. And with the fishing guide, for example, they were the very first company to buy the fishing guide, the very first. After that, I believe was Miss Oregon Inlet, Melody Kennedy, and ELS Electrical in Manio. What Davenport, is that his last name? Oh, I cannot think of his name right now. Marty, I'll have to come back to you with that one. But there's a gentleman that was in there that was very enthused about, and they all listened to your stuff when you were on the radio, and they were very enthused to be a part. So ELS Electrical in Manio. They got office in Virginia too. So I was very glad to have them on.
I look forward to the fishing guide is designed to be a tackle box size. That's not really the deal, but it's a small publication that has every bit of contact information you need. And it's basically designed for our visitors. They show up and they didn't plan on going fishing, but they realize I'd like to. So all the piers are in there, the charter boat stuff, the links to our websites, everything you need, tide charts, really important.
Tide charts,
recipes, things like that, and it's going to be really, really, really good.
Yeah,
I think it will be.
And they'll be up and down the beach at all your tackle shops, your marinas.
I think they'll be in the visitor centers.
Yep, the visitor centers, absolutely. And we're the plan. They'll be out before Memorial Day for sure. I think we're shooting for like a mid-May print in April, mid-May distribution. So of course I'll be carrying them around with me everywhere I go. And like I said, all the different local tackle shops, marinas, and the visitors, the piers, the visitors bureaus and whatnot, those rest areas, we're going to have them there. They're going to be everywhere. You won't go many places where you won't see a Capt Marty fishing guide. So, but again, Marty, definitely really looking forward to continuing to work with you and just see what the future holds for us. A lot of exciting things, and we might get creative with this thing. Again, like I had started to mention a moment ago, the Saturday show that you had done, there might be some potential there. We'll see. That
was my favorite, and mainly because we could have live interactions with callers. We've had people there listening for 25 years, and they still want to listen, and so we want to bring them right along.
There's ways that we can do that. We're gonna do some research and some homework, and again, like I can't say enough nice things about like Phil, my boss man that I kind of directly answer to in this world. He is always looking and reading and researching and trying to figure out the ways that we can really, really launch this thing into the stratosphere. So I appreciate him for everything he does. He's a great guy, love him to death. So I can't say enough nice things about him and the individuals here at Outer Banks This Week in One Boat. So
I've always prided myself in being a good judge of character, and I've enjoyed what we've done so far in our meetings and things. I just think it's going to be a great opportunity for me to go back to my media roots.
Yeah.
Where I was supposed to do that, as they say in the fleet, to have a real job.
Right.
All the charter boat guys or commercial guys say, I think I'm going to go get a real job. Like that job is not a real job.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. All right, Marty. Well, again, I appreciate you being here.
My pleasure.
Coming up here in just a few moments, going to talk a little bit about some events that are heading our way, but I need to shout out to my guy, Ryan Walker at Juan Cheese Off-Road. Juan Cheese Off-Road and Diesel Performance Specialist in Kill Devil Hills. That's where his garage is. From general upkeep to major modifications like performance suspension, lift kits, and basic vehicle maintenance, he's got you covered. Visit him on Facebook, Instagram, or give my man Ryan a call, 252-715-0025 at Juan Cheese Off-Road. I was talking about him this past weekend. He's had that concept where he and I graduated high school together. He has been elbows in grease and just working on vehicles from high school all the way till now. He went to diesel mechanic school in Nashville for 2 years, graduated from that. He actually worked for John Bayless for a little bit down at Bayless Boat Works, worked at Spencer Yachts. I mean, he did his own, he worked for other people, but then he became his own boss when he opened up Juan Cheese Off-Road. Again, he's had that Juan Cheese Off-Road name since high school, and he's very good at what he does. And I don't even have a diesel vehicle, and I will go over and be like, Ryan, look at this real quick. Tell me what you think it is, kind of thing, if I have something going on with the vehicle. So, love him to death. A good friend of mine. And, that's Juan Cheese Off-Road. All right, Marty, let's see here. I got some events that I want to mention because part of what we do with Outer Banks This Week podcast is events promotion. So I do want to mention, as I always say, I feel like a broken record a lot of times. Make sure you try to support your local high school and middle school athletics, like, whether it be basketball, wrestling, whatever's going on right now this time of the year. Baseball's getting ready to get started. Make sure you try to go out, and if you're able to support your local high school and middle school athletics, because for some of them, it might be their Super Bowl. It might be their NBA Finals. It might be their World Series. So, again, always try to show love and support to the kids and the students. You got all your trivia nights that are going to be going on. Lost Colony, Waterfront Beer Garden, Shipwrecks, Sandtrap Tavern, Stripers, New Vines. These are all weekly trivia nights, and they can be found online, as is everything that I'm about to mention, at OuterBanksThisWeek.com. You click on the events tab, and you can search through all of the events and see what's taking place. The Aquarium in Manio has tons of things happening weekly as well. Children and Youth Partnership, they're going to be having this block party that's going to be going on Friday and Saturday, February 16th and 17th at the Nags Head Church for kids ages 8 months to 5 years old. You can go check out our website again for more details on that. Manio High School Baseball getting ready to get started, and they're playing the Blue Line Bombers. Have you ever heard of them, Marty? The Blue Line Bombers.
I have not.
Okay, well, they're a team made up of local law enforcement, including former college and professional baseball players.
I have heard of them.
Okay.
Recently.
Yes. Now, they're playing at Manio High School Saturday, February 17th at 1 o'clock at the baseball field. It's free to get in, but there's going to be pizza and barbecue for sale to all to benefit the Manio High School baseball team. I'm going to try to take Austin out there. I have a meeting Saturday morning. Austin has a basketball game, and then he has skills day for Dare County baseball that afternoon. I'm going to try to take him out before his skills day that afternoon to watch some of this baseball. And he loves watching baseball, so we're going to go do some of that. There's a gentleman named Terrence Simeon. I believe I'm saying his last name. Terrence Simeon and the Zydeco Experience. They're going to be performing at the Pioneer Theater on Saturday, February 17th, starting at 7:30 in the evening. It's an authentic blend of Louisiana and New Orleans flavored world funk reggae jazz American. You get all that, Marty? Zydeco roots music that beckons you to your feet and into the groove. You used to dance, didn't you, Marty, at one point?
It's funny you bring that up, but yes, I was in my high school. I was the champion disco dancer. My girlfriend and I won the contest, and your old friend John Bayless and I have danced in the mosh pit at the Ramones concerts many times. That's my history in dance.
Okay, and there's some stories to go along with that.
Yeah.
I know we'll get into some more of. So that's going on at the Pioneer Theater Saturday, February 17th at 7:30. The Stripers Chili Cook-Off is going to be going on Sunday, February 18th from noon until 4, with proceeds going to Dare Challenge and the Dare County Shriners. I am going to be one of the judges. There's apparently 20-some-odd entrants into this Chili Cook-Off, Marty. 4 ounces of chili is going to be given to me to try per entry. it's like 4 ounces. You don't have to eat all 4 ounces, but see, for me, like that's where I struggle. I want to eat all 4 ounces. I've got 20 some odd entrants. So you do the math there. That's between 80 and 100, I'm sure, ounces of chili that I would consume if I ate all 20 some odd. I don't know how many. I know there's at least 25 entrants. So we'll say 100 ounces of chili there that I would consume if I ate all 4 ounces during this taste test.
We won't be riding around anywhere together the next day, right?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
No, I'm going to take like a bottle of Pepsi AC or Pepto-Bismol or something with me.
I've been to that one year, and a venison chili won the contest. That was really good.
Well,
too.
they have those. They like your
categories,
other meat, vegetarian, and beef chilies, I guess.
I wonder if they have any of the fake meat chili.
Oh, don't.
You know what I'm talking about? Yeah.
I mean, there might be, but I honestly, I remember friend and yours, a gentleman named Jody O'Donnell, had told me one time, he said, you should try to create tofu barbecue.
Why?
And I almost threw up in my mouth.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, Jody, no, I don't want to do that. He's like, but it would work. It would work. Because when they started creating the Beyond Meat burgers and stuff like that, they started rolling that stuff out. He's like, Justin, you should create tofu barbecue. It's like, I mean, I laughed, but I was like, no. I
don't understand it, but oh well.
Yeah. Also coming up, let's see, there's a brunch that has started back up at Cafe Pamlico in Buxton on this coming Sunday. They're having brunch from 8 until noon. It's February 19th. OBX Got Talent. They're having their top 5 show coming up at the Pioneer Theater on Saturday, February 24th at 7 o'clock. That's $5 at the door. They've started out with a dozen at least entries, and they've narrowed it down to the top 5. So they're going to get a chance to see them perform. And I don't know if I know there's judges involved with it all and everything like that, but we'll see how that all goes. Another block party for Children and Youth Partnership happening at the Fessenden Center on February 26th from 10 until 12. That's at the Fessenden Center in Buxton. And then the Special Olympics Polar Plunge, just looking down the road a little bit, at Jeanette Spears, going to be happening Saturday, March 9th. And you can go online for more information on that to obxplunge.com. That's all I got by way of events, Marty. Did we forget anything today? Is there anything we forgot to mention?
Not anything that I can think of we didn't talk about ahead of our meeting, our promotions, our hot tubs and things like that.
Oh, gosh, yeah, we got to work on some of that. I'm going to continue working. There's some negotiations and contracts out there right now that I need to follow up on.
Yeah, we got some T's to cross and some I's to dot. But
absolutely.
I'm just sitting here thinking we'll have fun.
Yeah.
I love the interaction. And anything I can help you with on your program, be great. I would love going forward to be able to paint a picture of what is available to people visiting the Outer Banks in the fishing realm.
Oh, yeah.
So, I hope that we can be able to do that. And I'll tell you, we live in a mecca. Don't forget, this is a fishing mecca. There's nowhere in the world you can go and catch a bigger variety of what we catch. You can go to the Pacific and catch more marlin or sailfish. You can go to Madeira, Portugal, and catch bigger blue marlin, maybe. But there's nowhere you can go on any given day. You can catch a 700-pound tuna, 10 or 12 or 18 yellowfin tuna. Come here in August last year, the sailfish numbers were off the chart. You go back in the Sound, speckled trout, puppy drum. The overall fishing is the best here of anywhere I've ever seen.
Yeah, and we got a lot of good fine captains and marinas and everything that can get you out there.
Also do-it-yourself opportunities. When we get Tony Lombardi involved, his thing is the walking angler. Where can you go fishing without a boat?
See, there you go. That's wonderful. Looking forward to all of that, Marty. Thank you for coming in and hanging out with me. I was very glad when we were able to kind of get you on board over here and to come to work with us, and we felt like, hey, let's put Marty on the podcast with you, Justin, and let's do this thing and introduce him. So I was very thankful that you agreed to come and do this with me. And again, like I said, we really look forward to what the future holds for all of us.
Well, thank you very much. You've always had my back, Justin, which I'm grateful for, and onward and upward.
Onward and upward. Next week, I'm going to have Sandy and Jackie in from the Dare County Special Olympics to talk about that polar plunge that I just mentioned a few moments ago. I've never done one. Marty, have you ever done a polar plunge?
No, I have enough trouble plunging into bodies of water. I come out, people keep putting lettuce in my mouth. They think I'm a manatee.
Oh, hush up now. Hush up, Marty. Yeah, so I'm debating. I'm wondering if I can get a team together. I got to figure out all the ins and outs of it.
I'm not going to be on your team.
You won't be on my team.
I can be your coach.
I'll tell you what. You can be the coach. There you go. Good idea. You can coach me on how to run in the water and run out as fast as I can, I guess. I don't know. But I'm going to talk to them. That's going to be fun. All to support the Dare County Special Olympics. So until next week, Marty, I appreciate you. And look forward to what the future holds for us together, Marty.
Thanks, Justin.
All right. We're out of here. Outer Banks This Week podcast, episode number 51, all brought to you by Kelly's Automotive in Manio. If it has doors, it can be yours, and online at kellysobxauto.com. Kelly Midget, love him to death. Great guy. And I look forward to having him in the near future or sometime. So that is going to be a good time. But anyway, we're out of here. I'll see you later, Marty.
All right. See you, Justin.
Later.
This has been another epic edition of the Outer Banks This Week podcast. Follow us on social media and be sure to listen every Thursday for a new episode.